Hello friends, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. Today I am really excited to be sharing with you my experience of the Autism Show. The one I went to was the Birmingham one. I know they do it in London and Manchester also, but it's basically a whole exhibition dedicated to autism, autism services, autistic speakers, all that type of stuff. And that is how I spent my day today. It was a very long day for me in terms of what I usually experience day to day, and it was also a very overstimulating day, but it was also so awesome. So let's get into it. I got the train there, which was great. I love train journeys. The only thing was that when I actually got to the NEC, which is where the Autism Show was in Birmingham, it was like the complete other side of the NEC. So it was quite not a trek, it was like a 10-minute walk to get from Birmingham International Train Station to the hall of the NEC where the Autism Show was, which I didn't factor into my schedule. So I ended up missing most of the talk that I wanted to see first, which was a shame. And that was by Arvina Kaushal, and it was called The Autistic Woman's Guide to Taking Charge of Her Own Narrative. But I did catch the last like 5 minutes of it, and it was so inspiring that it made me emotional. And I had to go to Arvina afterwards and tell her how good that last 5 minutes was, even though I'd missed most of the talk. So on entering, I was given this handy dandy brochure. It has a map of the hall to show you where everything is. It has all the talks in the different places, the different areas. There were 3 different areas where talks were being held throughout the day, and yesterday as well. It was a 2-day event, but when you buy a ticket you only go to one of the days. So it was really useful to have this kind of schedule of everything. And it also has bits of information of like some of the different things that were going on and some of the different services that were there, some of the different people that were there. So that was awesome. After I missed most of Arvina's talk, I had a good stroll around. I kind of wanted to make my way around the venue in like snaking down the aisles kind of order, so that I wouldn't lose track of like the places that I'd already been to and the people that I'd already spoken to, because I was wandering around and exploring and then going back for a talk to the seminar areas, and then I would carry on wandering around and exploring. So I navigated things in that way. My first stop was Lifeways, and I believe the lady's name was Marion. She was so incredibly lovely. Basically, Lifeways are a residential support organisation for autistic folks, and she was so lovely and so encouraging and so validating and so informative as well, which was great. She gave me a bunch of leaflets and information. Then I went to Richard Bass's talk, which was called Maintaining a Career While Being Autistic. That was really interesting. He talked about basically his career journey and the jobs that he'd had throughout his life and how certain things served him and why certain things didn't, which was really interesting. He's had quite a variety of jobs, so it was kind of cool to see like the way he displayed what were the sensory impacts of each job, what were the communicative difficulties of each job. Like he broke it down into a table, so it was really easy to see like why different jobs served him and why they didn't. That was awesome. Then I carried on wandering and came across Ali's sensory boxes. This was basically a big stall of all different sensory toys, fidget toys, all of that type of stuff. And I got some goodies. So let's do a haul. This is fidget toy number 1. I still need to cut this thing off. But basically, I'm very excited to attach this to my sunflower lanyard. This is just a key clicker. So satisfying. Quite loud though, so if you're in an area where this might start getting annoying to someone, then maybe not. But And maybe I'll actually keep this on my desk because then I'm not bothering people. But yeah, also it's colourful and glittery, so that's really cool. Next we have this one, which is kind of spiky and sorry it flashes. I don't really enjoy the flashing. This one was actually given to me by Marion from Lifeways, who I was talking about a minute ago. That's how lovely she was. She wanted to give me a sensory toy. It was at the beginning of the day though, so they still had sensory toys on the desk at that point. And I'm not sure that I enjoy the spiky spikies. Next we have a good old slug. I've never tried one of these before, but I see them everywhere and I have been intrigued for a while about whether I'll like them or not. I think I will like it. He's very bendy-wendy and I kind of like the noise. I like how floppy it is. There are certain times where I really need something that's squeezable, which obviously this isn't. But the way that it moves is quite satisfying, and sometimes I need that kind of thing rather than the squeezable action. More just something that can move between my fingers, so this will be really good for that, I think. Speaking of squeezable, next is my favourite one of the day. I think it needs a name, so if you want to comment a name that you think this fidget toy should have in the comments, please feel free to give me some ideas. So we have this very happy, fluffy little axolotl, and he's just so cute. So the back of his ears are like this furry stuff, then the rest of him's like soft, then he's got these glittery, whatever these are called on an axolotl, I don't know what they are. But the thing that's great about him is that he's one of these squeezy things. I'm not a fan of how that actually looks, but in terms of the fact that, like, if I'm not looking at it, the sensation of squeezing it is really, really good. After purchasing this, I was wandering around squeezing it and I got multiple compliments on this fidget toy. Look how cute it is. Yeah, let me know name recommendations in the comments. Next is another one that I've been really enjoying today. That is one that I've seen versions of before and never tried, which is this balls thing. So they're attached in the middle by stretchy plastic attached to a plastic ball basically, but you can move them around and it's really satisfying. I've taken to sticking my thumb in between and like spinning it around on my thumb, which has been very satisfying today. As I said, like, it was quite an overstimulating day because there was so much information to take in. It was in a massive hall, so it was quite loud. There were lots of people around, obviously so many people having so many conversations. So about 2 hours in to a 6-hour day, I was already overstimulated. So being able to purchase multiple fidget toys was actually very useful to me. So that's that one. And then lastly, we have Mr. T-Rex. So I saw these, there were multiple other dinosaurs. I saw these and I knew I had to purchase one because I have this caterpillar. It's got some fluff on it. I've had this for ages. I use it all the time. I love how it feels. I love fiddling with it. I love the rubbery, stretchy sensation. I love folding it in half and going like this with it in between my thumb and first finger and flicking it back and forth. And I use it all the time and it's starting to get a little bit discoloured. So I thought I'll definitely get myself a dinosaur. I loved the yellow. I had to do the T-Rex because of the T-Rex arms. So here he is. Okay, then I went to another talk, which was great, by Niraj Shah, who I met and chatted to afterwards, and he's so lovely, called The Transition to Being My Authentic Autistic Self, My Unmasking Journey. His talk was so good and so inspiring. He was one of the people today that really inspired me to want to do more public speaking, to want to use my voice to speak about autism more. That was really one of the massive things that came out of today. I really felt empowered to use my voice more, to talk about this topic more, because the more people that are talking about it, the more accurate representation there is out there, the more accurate information there is out there, the less generalised stereotypes are out there, the less stigma is out there, the better. So yeah, Niraj really inspired me in that way, but also just hearing him talk about his unmasking journey was really significant for me because it really resonated so much. I felt so similarly to what he was describing about the belief that me unmasking and me leaning into being more of my authentic self in as much of my daily life as possible is always better, is always a better option for me, is always better for the people around me. One of the things that stuck in my head that he said was that it's no good, these aren't his words, these are me, this is me paraphrasing, but like, it's no good masking and then expecting people to understand what my needs are, because if I'm masking, I'm not expressing my needs. And people aren't mind readers if we're not unmasking, if we're not showing our autistic selves, if we're not expressing what our needs are, if we aren't talking about what we're going through, then people aren't going to know. So I thought that was really significant and important to talk about. Niraj's talk finished at 1 p.m. and by this point I was really overstimulated already. I also had struggled to eat enough throughout the day, so I was quite hungry at this point too, but I decided to utilise the quiet room. So they had this great little room where you could just go to where the organiser's office is, and you can go through there and go into the quiet room, and it's a lot darker than other spaces. They don't have the big light on. There were just two like nice warm lamps in the corners of the room and a big sofa and a few chairs. I chose to sit on the floor though because I find it so much easier to decompress when I'm on the floor, and it was great. I put some headphones on, I watched some YouTube, and I just had some time to be in a lot less stimulating environment. I want to express as well that when I originally got there, I got really emotional because it's not the norm for me to be in a room full of autistic people, and it was so many autistic people. It's so hard to explain, but when you live in a society that is not built for you and you walk into something that is a massive event that is built for you, it's really emotional. So I was tearing up and finding it hard not to cry, I'm not gonna lie, for the first 15 minutes or so, and then I got used to it. But I just wanted to share that because it was significantly emotional walking into it in a good way. So yeah, after I went to the quiet room, I went to go get myself something to eat. There was actually a talk after Niraj that I wanted to go to, and I chose not to go to it because I was overstimulated. So I'm really proud of myself for not just trying to push through. But that was good because it gave me longer decompression time and lunch time, and I really needed that length of time. During that time though, I also had an extra wander around. I carried on exploring and just meeting people and chatting to people and getting to know different organisations, getting to know different people who were there with their businesses, with their books. Multiple authors were there, creators, having a good little network. And I got a bunch of business cards, including the glorious Victoria from Actually Aspling, who you may know, who is a wonderful content creator on Instagram and TikTok, I believe. And in that same exploring session, I also got some books. Would you believe it? I got books. So firstly, I got chatting to Jessica Kingsley Publishers, who are an awesome publishing house who deal with majority neurodivergent non-fiction. I actually already have this one. It's published by them, Neve Garvey's Looking After Your Autistic Self, which I haven't got to yet, but I'm really excited about because it was recommended to me. That's why I purchased it. But anyway, from them I purchased All Tangled Up in Autism and Chronic Illness by Charlie Clement, who is also a content creator. but I've been really excited to read their book for a while. So I also think it's such a glorious cover. It's so colourful and very bright. So I'm excited to get to this. And it was great to have a chat to the guys at Jessica Kingsley Publishers about their mission, basically, and why they support the authors that they do and the books that they do, and their passion for diversity. They also publish books about gender diversity and stuff like that too. So yeah, it was awesome to meet them. Oh, and from them I also purchased this wonderful tote bag inspired by the new Sunny Jane Wise book, We Are All Neurodiverse. It also has, which I think is really cool, a whole like infographic almost on the back of ways we should shift our language. So it says things like deficit to difference, disorder or illness to disability or neurodivergence, obsessions to deep interests, symptoms to traits, problem to challenge, high/low functioning to high/low level of support, and normal to neuronormative. Very cool. And it's really big as well, like it has proper sides and everything. This is it next to my head, it's giant. Then later on in the afternoon I went to a talk by the University of Birmingham, which was really cool. They were basically explaining all the different research projects that are going on at the moment in terms of autism, and that was so interesting. It was at the point in the day though where I was starting to struggle to absorb information because of how overstimulated I was. So it kind of went over my head a little bit, but it was still really awesome to hear them talk so passionately about where the research was going and what that research funding was going towards researching. They were talking a lot about the autistic adults, and obviously parents of autistic kids are involved with. So basically they have like a bunch of people in their system who they contact when they're going to do a research project and they need autistic adults or autistic children. And basically they're really trying to make sure that the research projects that are going ahead are ones that actual autistic people have expressed that they need more help with, or that they want to understand more about, or that there needs to be more research towards, which was really, really cool. Then I had a lovely chat with two more authors, the first being Jolie Williams. It was so lovely to meet Jolie, she was so nice. Look, here's a picture of her. She was diagnosed really young, at age 2, and so this is kind of a cross between her story and information. So on the back it says, "One woman, one wish, one inspiring story." Diagnosed at 2, Jolie is a passionate and internationally award-winning autism advocate and motivational speaker who loves her disability, autism. Be enchanted by Jolie's inspiring journey to autism acceptance. Giggle as you relate to the invisible roots of Jolie's autism and ADHD. Discover awarded insights into quirks, hidden hardships, independence training, transitional care, and healthy relationships. And weep at Jolie's stories of mental health issues. Ultimately, be empowered by autistic-inspired mindfulness as you challenge misconceptions of what it means to thrive and to be autistic. I feel like this is going to be a really empowering read, and I'm really excited to get to it. And she wrote in the front, "To Max, I hope my book empowers you to fly. Jolie." So cute, and I love the cover and the design. It's so colourful and pastel and beautiful. Oh, I forgot to read you Charlie's blurb. So this says, "In this groundbreaking book, Charlie Clement combines personal experience with reflections from individuals living with a wide range of chronic illnesses to provide an intimate and insightful guide to the complexities of life as an autistic and chronically ill person. From navigating diagnosis and healthcare systems, through learning how to manage pain alongside sensory needs, to dealing with ableism, medical misogyny and transphobia, Charlie offers practical advice that addresses the unique challenges faced by anyone living at this intersection. Culminating in an exploration of disability pride and joy, all tangled up in autism and chronic illness, is a necessary and empowering resource for autistic and chronically ill people, as well as their family members, friends and healthcare professionals. Awesome. Then next I spoke to the lovely Chris Bonello. Chris was awesome. I asked him about his publishing journey and it's such a great story. He basically went to a Get Published workshop thing and was chatting to one of the people presenting or teaching or something on this workshop, and that person ended up saying, "This is the best thing I've read all day, we're gonna get you published." He told it in a much better way, but it was a great story. It was great to chat to Chris. But this is literally like nothing I've ever heard of or read before. Let me read you the blurb. It's YA, by the way, YA fiction. Britain as we know it lies destroyed. The hope of a trapped nation lies in a tiny number of freedom fighters hidden in the abandoned countryside, most of whom are teenagers who escaped the attack on their special school. Seen by many as no more than misfits and problem children, this band of fighters could never have imagined the responsibility that now rests on their shoulders. After a lifetime of being defined by their weaknesses, the teenagers must learn how to play to their strengths and become the best they can be in a world that has never been on their side. How awesome does that sound? I'm so excited to get to this. This is also a series and there are 3 more books after this, so if you know any teenage neurodivergent people in your life, get them this book. So that's all the books and bits and bobs, that's the end of the haul. But lastly, I went to a panel, an Autistic Ask Us Anything Q&A session, which was with Victoria Ellen from Actually Aspling, Finn Maguire, who also has a YouTube channel, and I can't remember what the other guy's name was, because on here it just says panel Q&A with a selection of our autistic speakers. But it was a great Q&A. I got to ask a question about burnout and transitioning from burnout back into work, and when you know it's the right time to start doing so. And it was really interesting to hear their answers. It was also interesting just to get to listen to them chat about public speaking or about being content creators, because obviously Victoria and Finn are both content creators, so it's great to hear their perspectives of that as a content creator myself. And it was very informal and it felt great to just feel like you were sitting and chatting to a bunch of other autistic people. So yeah, then I got the train home, absolutely exhausted but incredibly inspired, and now it's now. Admittedly, I didn't start making this video as soon as I got home. I also watched Doctor Who in between. Priorities. But yeah, now it's massively time to decompress, and I have absolutely nothing planned tomorrow with a view to doing absolutely nothing. Tomorrow is a decompression day and a relaxation day. But yeah, I hope if you're considering going to the Autism Show that this video was useful, and I hope it inspires you to explore what other autistic folks are doing. I hope it empowers you to think differently about being autistic or about autistic people if you're not autistic. It really made me feel like my limitations are not as life hindering as they have been in my head in the past year or so. It really made me feel like any of the things that I want to do are entirely possible. It really made me inspired to speak, to do some public speaking, to do some talks maybe potentially on this topic in the future when I feel ready to, which came out of nowhere. I've had no desire before to do that, but I just felt so inspired by people doing that today and by how powerful it was to hear people speak, how powerful it was to hear other autistic voices. I really felt pulled to want to be in that position myself, which is really cool and surprising. But yeah, I would really encourage you, if there's ever an event like this in your area, to go for it, because it honestly was very perspective shifting and kind of life changing to be in the position where for the first time in my life I was in a big room full of other autistic people. Obviously that's never happened to me before because I've never been to an event like this before, and it's very much put a different perspective on how I see myself in relation to the rest of the world, because I've never really been exposed to that many other autistic people. It was so cool. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already because it really helps me. And I will see you in the next one after I've had lots and lots of rest.